Hello, this is Nathan Johanning. We are out at our herbicide research on processing pumpkins looking at Spartan and Anthem Flex. Today is June 28th, 2021, and we are here to look at both the first and second plantings and take a look at what we are seeing. This is the Fults location down in the river bottom. So let's go ahead and take a look. First, I want to address this first planting is where we're going to be, and take a note here at these first two border rows or double rows that you see here. These are treated just as a reference, not a part of the trial, but those have dual and reflex at the standard use rate, so you can kind of get a comparison for that. So this trial has some weeds in it now. We're going to go ahead and rogue those out. We wanted to leave those as kind of a comparison, but we don't want to let them continue on, so those will be coming out here as soon as I collect some data off of this. So taking a look, so our first treatment is our non-treated. So this again is an early May planting date. So you can see lots of amaranth. Most of that here is Palmer amaranth where we're at now. So you can see we still have good pumpkin growth and everything. This is probably one of the worst of the non-treated, so we'll get it cleaned up. But you can see anyhow, very good stand. Everything at this site and planting went very well. Then we'll go on to our low rate of Spartan. So our 4-ounce rate of Spartan, as you can see, we had, I think, really good pumpkin response. No significant injury. I can't really see any differences in growth when you compare the two treatments. Certainly did not control all of our amaranths and pigweeds. However, I don't think you would expect that. Still seeing at least 3/4 control. And remember, if we were going to use this in the field, I would always probably couple it with dual magnum as far as a Spartan. So if it can give this level of control and you partner that with the effectiveness of dual, which at this site was very effective in our dual reflex combination, I think it has some good promise for weed control and crop safety. Moving on to Spartan at the middle rate, the 2X rate, which is 8 ounces. Again, I think we had really good response to the crop. Very little, limit in growth, maybe ever so slightly, maybe just stunted in growth, not really anything long term, but just seeing a little bit of influence, but really not much. You can see our pigweed control has increased a little bit, and I think across all these sites, Spartan will not be a standalone product for pigweeds, which I don't think it would be, and neither is Reflex, but I think, again, as a tank mix partner, it would be a good option. All right, now we go to our high rate of Spartan. So this would be our 16-ounce rate, 4X rate. So here, good crop response, although the pumpkins, even though they were just dinged a little bit, you can tell they're still stunted. They're not vining out quite as much. But still, we had a good stand, and they have rebounded from that. They're struggling a little bit. We have been fairly dry up until here the last day or two, and we've gotten over an inch of rain, actually a couple inches. So, but growth is taking off fairly well. But again, this is way higher than what we would expect to use. But the fact that we're seeing this level of safety, I think, is good. Now moving on to this would be our Anthem Flex at our 4-ounce, our low rate. So here you can see, I think, very good crop response. We've had very good pigweed and amaranth control. I don't see, any. Some of the low at this standard rate, I do see a few in some plots, but overall very good control. So this would be I think a pretty good option. However, as you'll see, I think it is a little bit hotter on the pumpkins in the Spartan, so we'll have to see how that pans out with some of our other planting dates. So now we're moving up to the 2X rate. So on the 2X rate, as you can see here, we have, this would be our 8 ounces of Anthem Flex. We have a little bit more, just a slight bit of stunting, not bad. But you can tell a little bit of stunting. We've maybe lost a little bit of stand, not too bad. But when we move up to our 4X rate, which are 16 ounces of Anthem Flex, you can see we have very significant issues. Somewhat sporadic stand loss. If you look a little bit closer in here, you can see some plants that just were struggling before and just never were able to make it out of that. Some of them did rebound and are a little bit stunted. A few in the back actually look all right, but certainly Anthem Flex, and you can see this in the others, can be very hot. But again, we're looking at 4 times what our use rate, or kind of tentative use rate is. So that's not completely ruling things out, but it gives us a good feel of the level of safety we have compared to the 2 products. So now we're going to move on to the June planting date. So this is, again, just as a quick comparison, this is dual and reflex in a border row. So again, you can look at that compared with some of the others. So, and again, this is another order for this planting, dual and reflex here. Actually seeing really good weed control even with our palmer pressure. All right, so here we have our early planting date. This has been in the ground about 2 weeks, not quite, and if my memory serves me. So we have good growth, good stand coming up. This is our non-treated to start with, just as a reference. So you can see, overall growth is good. We've had a good stand at this site, and so good conditions to get a stand, so that should not be a problem. Then again, we'll go through our rates, starting with Spartan at the low rate. I think everything looked really good. Occasionally you will see just a little bit of stunting, or maybe a little bit of some of the early leaves. You can kind of see some of the leaves on that one are a little bit, the leaf was just a little bit kind of nipped, maybe from a little bit of early injury, but it's not enough that's even seemed to slow them down. So it's been very well, I think still a good response. Moving up to the middle rate, so the 2X or 8 ounce rate of Spartan. Here in this case, we're seeing a little bit more injury early, which isn't uncommon. We saw that in the others. A lot of this tends to be transient and they'll snap out of it. But in this planting date with the weather pattern, we've had a little more rain, especially rain closer to emergence. So I think they've caught a little more rain early. That's, that herbicides, again, and then a sandier soil has had a little more influence. But again, I think overall, I think this stand will snap out of that pretty well. Going to our high rate, our 16 ounce rate of Spartan 4X. Here we had a lot of injury. We've lost stands significantly. So certainly this is, we do have a similarity in between these products that we can reach a max rate for good safety. Then moving on to our low rate of Anthem Flex. Again, I think this at the 4 ounce rate looks good. This is similar to what our earlier planting here looked. We have occasionally just a slight bit of stunting, maybe a loss of plant here or there, but really I think a pretty good response when we compare with the others. And then moving up though, when you start getting above 4 ounces, you can see here at our 2X or 8 ounce rate of Anthem Flex, we have lost some plants here. We've probably lost maybe at least probably a third to half of the plants, a little more stunting. A few plants are growing normally, but definitely some stunting. The stunting from this seems to be, unlike Spartan, which is more of a leaf burn, this tends to be a little bit more in the side of stunting the actual growth rather than just causing leaf formations they grow out of. So there's a little more kind of almost systemic kind of activity on the plant than what the Spartan in general has. So there's definitely some concerns if you get a little higher. This is maybe marginal given the weather conditions, but then as we move up to our 4X rate, as you can see here, we're at, I don't know, at least 90% injury. So we've definitely had faster growth, and then the rainfall that's really kind of caused some pretty significant injury on this herbicide, which actually I like seeing because it tells us that we're doing something right at this high rate. How this influences our crop safety will be something we'll just have to discuss, and how we like to see that. But our lower rates seem to be fair, but I think under the right weather conditions, certainly the higher rates have some chance for some issues. So, and you can kind of see the rest of the trial as we look back in the back, and the response has really been fairly similar across all. So with that, I wanted to give you a quick glimpse of the trial to date, and we will update you again in the future.